Hello everyone, welcome to the video training series for the Utah High School Football Officials Association's 2024 clinic. My name is Mike Furman, and in this video we will be covering goal line mechanics. Now some of you may recall we did this topic last year. However, goal line mechanics continues to be an area in which we are seeing a need for improvement, so we've decided to do another training again this year in the hope of helping everyone get better. To start off then, let's look at some goal line mechanics in regards to kickoffs. Now normally you wouldn't think about goal line mechanics on a kickoff, but as officials, we should always have the goal line in the back of our mind. The goal line is the most important line in the game, and we should always, somewhere in the back of our mind, be aware of where it is and what our responsibilities might be on any given play. So if we run this kickoff, we're going to look at our back judge here. Let me skip forward a little bit. But once the kick is away, if you remember, back judge's responsibility per the manual is to come onto the field, and a good rule of thumb is to come on at about a 45-degree angle. And that's in preparation in case the run goes all the way back for a score. On the kickoff, we have our referee standing right here, which is in perfect position where he should be, leaning towards the head linesman side, and he's positioned on the goal line. But if we watch our back judge here, as the play progresses, in fact, we're going to have it break free, but our back judge has not come onto the field. He should be out here at about this position, running at full speed. Really, he probably hopefully should be about here, trying to stay ahead of the play so that our head linesman can be coming down the field behind the play to keep it boxed in. But we haven't done that, and now as it progresses, we do the next worst thing, which is we pull up and let the play go past us. Now, we lucked out because the play ended on about the 35-yard line, but if the runner had gotten past the defender and been on a streak for the end zone, we would have been in trouble because there would have been nobody back there by that pylon and on the end zone to rule in case we had a close call because our back judge didn't follow the correct mechanic. And again, if you watch here, now the other problem we've got is come in. We had two officials basically officiating the same space, which is the other thing that we don't want to do. We haven't kept the play boxed in. So even on a kickoff, we need to have the goal line in the back of our mind. Here's a good example of what we want to see the back judge do on a kickoff. Again, you can see him already starting to come out onto the field. And as this one breaks free, our referee's coming up from behind. Our officials are all moving with the play, keeping it boxed in. And as the play goes all the way down for a score, when we get there, we see our back judge has moved exactly where he needed to be after coming onto the field. He would have come here and then moved in this direction. And now he's in perfect position to rule. Now, again, on this play, it was an easy call, but if it had been a lot closer and a dive for the goal line, we would have been in a good position to make the call and rule correctly. Let's talk about referee's responsibility then. We saw the previous play, referee was in a good spot. Here again, we have the referee where he should be, but as the play comes in, we've backed up off the goal line. And this is actually, let me just move forward a little bit, this is a pretty close call. I mean, he's right there as whether we have a touchback or whether he can return this. What we probably would have wanted to do, and again, I get it, we're trying to move out of the way, as the referee sees the ball coming right at him, the manual doesn't specify. You could move this direction or you could move this direction, whichever way you felt was safest. But the best thing would have been to roll left or right so that, again, as the play comes down, we're positioned at a spot where we can look down the goal line and see what we have. Again, this becomes a close call. I think we got it right, but it becomes a lot more believable if we put ourselves in the right position to see the play correctly, using the correct mechanic. Here's another example of where we want the referee to be. But if you watch that referee as the ball comes in, he can see it kind of coming at him. He doesn't like the position he's in, so he starts to move laterally rather than into the end zone. So again, on a very close call, he's able to determine whether or not this should be a touchback or allow the player to return, or whether it was a momentum rule. In this case, we have a touchback. And again, referee's in the perfect position. No one can argue with that. All right, let's talk about wings and their responsibilities on the goal line. Here we have a play that's about to begin, and as you can see, we're on the 5-yard line. Wing responsibilities, when it comes to the goal line inside the 5, says that the instant that the ball is snapped, we should be moving to the goal line. And as we watch this play progress, once we get inside the 20 or 15-yard line, once the back judge tells the wings, I'm giving up the goal line to you, wings, our intensity and our concentration and focus needs to ratchet up. And that especially applies to how much we are hustling. But if we watch our movement here, we don't make it to the goal line on time. We should always be hustling. We should always be working hard, but especially once we get into this position where the back judge is giving up the goal line to us as wings, we need to be hyper vigilant. Okay, here's another situation where we didn't get where we needed to be. Spoke on a previous training that once we get inside the red zone and the back judge has given up the goal line to us, we need to kind of have this second sense of when it is that we need to start moving to the goal line, because it's going to be faster than we normally would. Here we're starting on about the 13, 14-yard line as the play goes. Now, our receivers really still haven't quite, they're starting to get to the 10 yards down the field, but because the goal line is involved and all the receivers are going, our mind should already be buzzing that we've got to get moving. Instead, the ball's been passed, and all we've done is hold our position at the line of scrimmage and turn to watch the pass play. We can't do that, especially when the goal line is threatened. Now, catch is made, touchdown, an easy call, but it could have been very close, and we should have been close to here or already in a position on or near the goal line to be able to roll. Here our wings make a mistake that's understandable, so let's kind of go over it and explain it and then make sure we don't do it. Because if this play was to happen on about the 50-yard line, what the wing does next is absolutely correct mechanically. If we watch our head linesman, as the play comes to his side, he steps back and out of the way so that he can let the play go in front of him and then come in from behind to roll on the play. But remember, once we get inside the 20 to 15-yard line, definitely by the 10-yard line, and the back judge gives up the goal line, we can't do that mechanic anymore. We have to do the opposite of what we normally would do. Instead of moving backwards to let the play go in front of us, we have to run ahead of it and be, again, waiting down here at the goal line. Once the back judge tells us he's given up the goal line, then everything changes. And that would be my other question on this play was, back judge, did you communicate to your two wings telling them it's your goal or not? Because we should be making those communications happen as well. This play continues. Very close play at the pylon, and we are not where we want to be. Next play. We do a similar thing. We watch our head linesman. Again, because the goal line is threatened, even though our keys are barely 5 yards downfield, we should already be starting to move because, again, there's a potential play at the goal line as our receivers are moving towards it. As we let it go forward, again, if we continue to watch that head linesman, we came in and we tried to point to the back judge to say he was in, he was in. Well, remember, the back judge gave up the goal line. So he doesn't have that call anymore. If we watch our back judge, he kind of points right back and says, that's not my call. And so then our head linesman comes in and signals touchdown or whatever. But again, we got our responsibilities mixed up on this play. We should have already been here and then just be signaling touchdown, because once the back judge has given up the goal line, then it's the wings' call to make. Okay, here we also get ourselves into trouble. We're starting to see guys pick up this incorrect mechanic where we're just standing on the line of scrimmage. Remember, guys, we only have 5 officials. We can't do 7-man mechanics. And 5-man mechanics say once our keys are 9 to 11 yards downfield, we move downfield with them. And here we're sitting at about that mark, 9, 10 yards on both of our keys, and this one's about to transition over to the head linesman anyway, but we don't move. And then we have a long play. Now, this wing has some great wills, so he starts to take off, but then the other thing that happens as it comes down, he thinks, okay, I want to be standing still because we're going to have a close play. This is going to be really close to the sideline as to whether or not he's in or out. So he's coming to a stop so he can rule without his head bouncing, and I understand that too, but the problem is we're still 25 yards away from the play, which is too far. If we could have been somewhere around here, I'd understand coming to a stop, but where we've allowed ourselves to get behind the play and too far away from the goal line, it's more important that we keep moving to get to where we need to be. We'll let this go forward. Ooh, it looks like he's out. It's very close. Watch what our back judge does. Now again, back judge, definitely on that, we'd want to be looking for help from the wing to let us know. But I also understand why he didn't. My guess is he might have looked over here in this direction, and he can't see anybody to be able to help him out. So he does the best he can and makes a call as a touchdown. Now watch our wing. He's signaling incomplete, but guys, we're so far away from the play, nobody even is paying attention to us. Anytime that the goal line is threatened or the ball's moving to the end zone, we've got to get down there to make that call. In this case, we don't look as good as we'd like to as a crew, And I would argue, again, that happened because our mechanics weren't the way that they should have been. All right, let's look at some good mechanics then. Here we're going to have a play where the back judge, again, has given up the goal line. Our wing's spidey sense starts to go off as he's looking at his two keys sprinting towards the goal line and realizes, I've got to go. So even though it's early from what you normally would do, he takes off to get to the goal line. And then when the pass finally comes, he's standing there waiting. It ends up not being a play that was hard to rule on, but the point is he was in the correct position. Same thing here. Now we're starting inside the 5 or close to the 5. And if we watch our line judge, instantly at the snap, he starts moving to the goal line. And now when the ball goes across, if we back up, look where he is. He's in perfect position to calmly stand and rule on the play. Ball comes across, he's got a touchdown, swings out to the side, stays facing the players. That's perfect mechanics. That's exactly what we want to see. Another thing to talk about with the goal line. Here we have a play that tries to punch it into the end zone. They don't get it, but these are plays that we need to crash in on at full speed. If we watch our officials here, we need to get in here and stop this. Forward progress has been stopped. Our head linesman starts to hustle in, but he's from clear across the other way. Guys, we got to have more urgency than this. Get in here and blow this dead and break it up and stop it. Come in and make a ruling. Because we haven't ruled yet, we haven't come up with a 40-second play clock, we haven't made a call. Yes, it's obvious that he didn't get in, but we need to come in and get the 40-second play clock going, crash in hard, be blowing on our whistle, and get this action stopped. Otherwise, we kind of look like we're not sure what we should do. Another similar example. Dive for the goal line. Come in. Our line judge comes crashing in. And as we get in here, I'm short. So since we know that we're short, we're signaling we're short with the open hand start the play clock signal. So we're making a call and making it clear to everyone what we have, and it just helps us look like we're on top of things. Now, for these next two clips, we're going to talk about reverse goal line mechanics, but the rules are still the same. When we are in reverse goal line mechanics, we're going short yardage coming out from the end zone. The wings immediately move to the goal line once the ball is snapped. And here we see that happens. Great job by the wing official. And then once the play goes beyond that, then we move back out. Again, let me just reiterate that one more time. We move to the goal line. As the play comes out, now we work back out from the goal line. This is the correct mechanic. This is the mechanic that we have to be doing as wing officials. The only negative thing that we need to point out on this play is that right here, we got a cameraman right there in our way. So great reverse goal line mechanic, but we just need to make sure we get in there and get our sideline clean, get people out of the way so that we can effectively get back there. But again, otherwise, great example of a reverse mechanic on this one. Another example. Again, we're on the 5-yard line. If we're looking at our head linesman here, the instant that the ball is snapped, he moves to the goal line. Now, his receivers are streaking downfield, but the goal line is the most important line in the game. It's more important than receivers' keys on this play. We needed to first get to the goal line, and then once we know we're clear and the pass is off, then we work our way back downfield to cover the rest of the play. That's the mechanic, again, that we have got to have. All right, here, our lack of communication, that again is part of the mechanics manual, gets us in trouble. We're going to have a play that goes close for a score. Our wing, I like the hustle. Again, just to back it up here, the back judge is going halfway, so the goal line is not the wing's responsibility. He's going to let the play still go ahead of him, which he does, so everything's correct here. But we come in, back judges, you can't make that call from clear over there without some help from your wing. We need to be pointing, looking to him, and waiting to see what your wing official is going to do. Wing official hasn't done anything yet, and the problem is, as he comes in, he has him out of bounds at the 2. Uh-oh. Back judge already signaled touchdown. We don't look very good right now. The mechanic is, when it's a close play at the sideline, back judge, you're going to wait to get communication from your wing, who's either going to do what this wing did here and blow his whistle because he has him out of bounds before the goal line, or he's going to give you a point or a nod or some indication that, yes, I have him in bounds, and then back judge, you can go ahead and signal touchdown. We can't have the mentality that we're only going to do our goal line mechanics when it really matters, because the reality is It always matters on every play at the goal line. Back judges. We have a long pass play. I think we're in a good position to start, but at this point, we needed to have recognized sooner that we've got to be moving this way faster so that this doesn't happen. 2 key rules for a back judge. 1, don't get beat. And 2, cover the goal line. Everything else comes second after that. We get beat. We're out of position. Now this is a very close play. Not only are we not on the goal line, we're not even facing the correct direction to be able to make a good call and a good determination on this. This is really close. I don't know what the correct call would be. If he was down at the 1, if we had momentum rule, or if it was a touchback. Okay, here's some hustle that we want to see from our back judge. This is a running play that suddenly breaks free. Alarm bells go off for the back judge. Oh no, I've got to get there. Does a great job hustling to the goal line. And then what I really like, even when he got there, because everybody's running, he probably hasn't heard a whistle yet, but even so, he doesn't just go up with a touchdown. He's looking to his wing, who, by the way, had a hard time keeping up with this athlete, as anyone would, so he's back there a ways, but he is not going to make a touchdown signal until he gets confirmation from his wing that he never stepped out. Great job by the back judge there. He gets his confirmation, he gets his signal. That's the mechanic that we've got to have. All right, let's talk about referees for a minute. Here we're looking at a scrimmage kick. Snap goes. Oh man, we're way over our head. Now, instantly, your mind should be thinking, oh no, I've got to get to the goal line. But as we watch as this play progresses, we did a great job not blowing a whistle, not having IW, and letting the play progress. It's just that at this part, we should be somewhere down here, still moving backwards to make sure that we don't get beat to the goal line. Play moves forward. Again, the goal line has to always be in the back of our mind on every play. Similar situation here, only this time we get the mechanic that we want to see from our referee. This one's going to be an interception. Referee had moved back to watch his key, the passer. Now that this interception has happened, you can see from his body language, the alarm bells have gone off. I've got to get to the goal line. And watch, he does something here that normally would be taboo. He's turned his back on the play. But again, the goal line is the most important line in the game. It supersedes even turning our back on a play if that's what's required to make sure that we get to the goal line. And if you watch him here, yeah, he's got some obstacles he's got to get around. He's got to make sure he stays safe, he doesn't get hit. Now, to be fair, the referee could have kept himself out of trouble if he had just moved back quicker and responded a little bit quicker once the play went backwards. But the key to this play that we're trying to point out is that his mind was in the right place, that once he knew he was in trouble, he was doing everything he could to get to the goal line. That's the mentality we got to have. So that's exactly what we want to have happen. And sure enough, he's at the goal line like he needs to make the call. There are some weird scenarios that happen for which the manual doesn't really talk about. So let's cover it here on this play. Kick is blocked. Back up, we have a blocked punt. As the ball is rolling, now right now what has to happen is the referee has to make a decision. It would be nice for us to be able to say now or even in pregame what it is that both the referee and the line judge should do, but the answer is it depends upon what this oddly shaped, funky ball does when it bounces. So what really we need to talk about is the referee needs to decide, okay, is the end line threatened or is the goal line threatened? And depending on which one he decides is determining where he's going to go. And then our line judge, or if it was on the other side, it would be the head linesman, has to recognize that, watch what that referee decides, and then they act accordingly. So if the referee decides to go to the end line, then our wing's got to get down here to the goal line and take care of that. If the referee decides that it's the goal line that's threatened, so he's going to stay at the goal line, then our wing is going to act just like they would normally on a normal play where they would be pointing to the back judge, just letting the referee know that the player did or did not stay in bounds. But again, this is something we got to pregame. In this scenario, it's going to be a judgment call that's made on the fly, and we're going to have to adjust on the fly. Okay, we need to skip ahead here a little bit into this. We're going to start talking about back judges. So let's move into this play where we got a little bit better view. Now, in the state of Utah, we've adopted a mechanic where once the ball gets down in between the 20 and the 10, back judges have the option to go halfway in the goal line. what we need to not forget as back judges is what that means. We're not just saying, hey, I'm at half, just so you know this is where I'm at. But when the back judges is at half, what we're saying is if it is a pass play into the end zone, wings, I'm going to take the end line and you're going to take the goal line. If it is a running play, then wings, I'm going to come up and I'm going to take the goal line as a back judge. This becomes a running play, and we have a great back judge official here who recognizes that and, as you see, hustles up and is in the right position to make the call. Turns with the players. This is the mechanic that we want to see. Here we're going to have something similar. Same back judge, quarterfinal game. This is a pass play, but a pass short of the end zone. And so again, back judge has to recognize that it was a short pass, so he's going to hustle up to get to the goal line and once again is in the correct position to make the call once we're there. All right, and finally, let's not forget about umpires. Umpires, you have minimal responsibilities when it comes to the goal line, but you do have some important responsibilities to be aware of. And the first one I want to talk about here, you'll see on this clip, it's again short yardage. We make a play for the goal line. Okay, oops, let me back up. Umpire, you're in the way. I hate to say that, but your first responsibility for the goal line is to stay out of the way. We have a wing. Now, he probably should have been crashing in here a bit to come in and help make that call, but he's trying to determine whether or not the ball's crossed, and your first move as the umpire was to come up to the goal line and get in the officials in the wing official's way. We don't want to do that. You don't need to be moving to the goal line in this scenario. Really, we should probably have you back here kind of looking for the ball. But be aware of your wing officials are there trying to look, and we can't have, somebody blocking the view so that they can't see where that ball is at. So the first responsibility for the umpire, as weird as that may sound, is to stay back and stay out of the way so the officials can see the line. The next responsibility that the umpire has in relation to the goal line is on fake field goals and fake tries, or fire drill, if that's what you want to call it. And here we have one. We decided to go for fake. Okay, in that scenario, yes, umpire needs to come up and take the goal line like we do here. We maybe could have a little more hustle on that move, but the umpire needs to come up, and now this is your moment to shine. This is your goal line. If somebody crosses it, it's your touchdown signal to call. This is pretty much the only time in the game that an umpire would signal touchdown is on a fire drill. Even in this case, now this wasn't a dive, but there's nobody over here, and he's not far back enough that the back judge would call that. So even on this scenario, umpire, this was your moment. Sometimes linemen get to score touchdowns, and sometimes umpires get to signal them. And this is a play where umpire would signal a touchdown. All right. Lastly, with umpires, final responsibility. If you look in the manual, what the manual says is two things when it comes to the goal line plays. One, try to recognize whether the ball was moved into the goal line after it was down, if you can see that. And two, look to the wings and see if they need help. Now, I know we have a lot of umpires out there that have these mechanics they like to do to communicate with the wings, and some of them can get kind of crazy, like I'm going to adjust my hat or I'm going to touch my nose or whatever it might be. Really, none of that is in the mechanics manual. All the manual says is look to the wings and help them if necessary. So it's that help them with necessary where umpires have kind of come up with their other philosophies or other ideas of how they would communicate to the wing that needs help. But what that means is you don't really need to do those unless the wing is looking at you with the deer in the headlight look of, I don't know, did you see? And in that case, then yes, you can communicate to them what you have, and we're not going to take that away from you. You can communicate that however is most comfortable to you. Although I would suggest we probably don't need to get too far into the cloak and dagger type things when we communicate that. But it's not something you have to do on every play where there's a dive, just in the situations where the wings are asking for help. On this play, and again, we have a championship crew here and a championship umpire. Dive comes in, nobody's asking for help, and so all our umpires focusing on is getting everybody broken up and getting the ball and splitting up the colors into different areas. With that, that is our final clip for this video. Watching this video will count towards your requirements for playoff eligibility. Thank you for all you do, and we'll look forward to seeing you out on the field this season.